Man, it seems like things are getting chippy on ESPN First Take live on national television. It seems like a lot of these media personnel are calling out each other. The latest, Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler was talking on College Game Day after Ohio State beat Tennessee 42-17. They took a dig at ESPN First Take. But before we get off into today's podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend. Man, oh man, the threats keep coming. Shannon Sharpe has now went on ESPN First Take live on national television and has threatened Kirk Herbstreit of the College Football Game Day when they was talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes when they defeated Tennessee Volunteers 42-17 in the CFB playoffs in the first round. Now Ohio State moves on to play the Oregon Ducks. And Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler was talking after the game because there's been some comments that, Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith have made on ESPN First Take about Ryan Day, on what he has done with the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's time for him to deliver a national championship. He can't even beat Michigan. So Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe gave their honest opinion about that. And it seemed like when they was talking about it, Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler got wind of that. And they took a dig at Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. and ESPN First Take. And Shannon Sharpe did not like it. And Shannon Sharpe fired back. But first, man, let's take a listen to what Kirk Herbstreit had to say when talking about the comments that was made between, Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe. Let's take a listen to what Kirk Herbstreit had to say.
Up about what the Ohio State team did, but God forbid they lose to Oregon. They may want to fire him again.
But that's not reality. I mean,
No.
that's the thing. When you hear pundits on this network and other places talk about that with certainty, it's nonsense, frankly. I mean, the public doesn't pull the trigger and get rid of the coach.
No.
The administrators do, and they're behind them.
Yeah. First Take tried to fire him. They thought he was done. So I'll be excited to see what they talk about on Monday after this performance.
Now, you heard what Kirk Herbstreit had to say, man. He took a dig at Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith. He was talking about the First Take pundits. He was calling Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith First Take pundits. So, man, that's kind of egregious for him to, take an approach like that. So what happened on ESPN First Take, Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith, they basically fired back at Kirk Herbstreit. And, Shannon Sharpe always standing on business. Shannon Sharpe has got into it with the likes of Jason Whitlock. He got into it with Stephen A. Smith. And, Shannon Sharpe, man, he don't mince words. And, he goes on Nightcap with Ocho, and Ocho was like, what they do. But this time, I got to give it to Shannon Sharpe, man. He silently fired back, but he took the highway out. And he took the high road. He didn't really, but his words was powerful the way he said it. But he threatened Kirk Herbstreit. He said, next time y'all mention my name, I'm going to pull up. I'm going to pull up where you at. Man, so let's take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith said, followed up by what Shannon Sharpe said. Man, it's kind of funny, man, that, they work with the same network and they taking digs at each other. Let's take a listen to what Kirk Herbstreit had to say in response on what he said, and let's listen to what Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith said. Let's take a listen.
And I say this in fun to both of them. Stop it. Chris Fowler, it's ridiculous. No, it's not. Kirk Herbstreit, First Take, got to get him fired. That is not true. I did. Not First Take. That was me, Stephen A. I'm going to own that. And what did I say specifically, Kirk Herbstreit? Because you got to quote me accurately, my brother. I watch you on College Football Game Day. I don't misquote you. Don't misquote me. What I said was, this man, Ryan Day, if he doesn't get a national championship, he should go. Even with a 66-10 record, I didn't stutter one bit. I ain't stuttering now. You get the job at The Ohio State, which you know, Kirk Herbstreit, you got to beat Michigan. This man has lost 4 years in a row. 3 straight to Jim Harbaugh, and then to Sharon Moore, okay? And then not only do you lose 4 straight to Michigan, you get to the college football playoffs, and you get bounced out by Tennessee. That's what I was saying. You can't lose Tennessee now. You got to go handle your business. To their credit, they blew them out. They beat Tennessee like they stole something, okay? Major props to you. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. You're Ryan Day. The job is twofold, Shannon. D.O., correct me if I'm wrong. Beat Michigan and make sure you're the national championship picture. You got $20 million payroll with NIL. You had 11 dudes that were NFL caliber that returned to the squad for this season. You didn't even win a Big Ten. And then you get bounced out early in the college football playoffs. Had that happened, you damn right I would have been on national television right before Christmas. Ryan Day got to go. But he handled his business. Now what you going to do against Oregon? What you going to do against Oregon? We going to find out. But Mr. Fowler, Mr. Herbstreit, love you guys. Appreciate y'all. Y'all do a great, great job. You know I love you, Kirk. You know that. But you got to quote me accurately. I stated, Ryan Day, if you don't win the national, you ain't right there in that Final Four, competed for the national championship. After that, and 4 straight losses to Michigan, we can get somebody at Ohio State to do that. Lose 4 straight to Michigan? Don't be in the national championship picture with a $20 million roster and 20 NFL caliber players returning to the squad? We can get somebody to do that.
I hope you wrap your own gifts because you know how to tie a bow up.
Come on now.
I will tell you.
All
right, go ahead, Shannon.
Stephen, I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to be a good teammate. I'm going to let it slide. Everybody's at ESPN because had you not taken the route you taken, I would have lit their ass up. But I'm going to let it slide. You know what, guys? Congratulations, Ohio State. You won the game. But, hey, if we're going to be on the same team, if we're going to work for the same network, don't do that. Kirk, Chris Fowler, I promise you, if you ever mention anything, any platform that I'm on again and talking about, I wonder what they're going to say in negativity, I promise you, ESPN ain't got enough bosses to keep me off y'all for what I'm going to say. So I'm going to let y'all slide today. I'm going to turn it over to D.O. before I get myself in trouble. But don't play with me.
You heard what Shannon Sharpe had to say, man. Shannon Sharpe, man, lit off into Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. He said, ESPN ain't got enough bosses to keep me off of you, what I'm about to do to you and what I'm about to say. So there you have it, man. See, that's the thing, man, that these networks working with each other on the same network and they taking digs at each other, critiquing them for what they say and, getting out of line. And it comes to this, threatening people over the airways. But, we talk about it all the time, man. And in this situation, man, I got to agree with, Shannon Sharpe because you're working on the same network and you taking digs at the people that you work with. And then he called them, media pundits. He called them media pundits. And, Stephen A., his soliloquy, he was absolutely correct. But, he kind of, held back a little bit because at the end, he said they got much love for him. But Shannon Sharpe stood on business. Shannon Sharpe don't mince words. Shannon Sharpe's going to give it to you how he think it needs to be given to you. And I totally agree with him, man. You're on the same network and you're taking digs at each other, man. And now it's back and forth, but I don't think Shannon did no wrong. But, Shannon Sharpe had the right to express the way he felt because they actually took a dig at Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith. And Shannon Sharpe stood on business, man. So you guys let me know what y'all think about today's podcast on how Shannon Sharpe handled that situation. He silently destroyed Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. And he threatened them live on national television. I see everybody in the comment section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops a hot banger. And we're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Droppin' podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.